43 past the hour on this Earth Day. We're taking a look at the Alabama Black Belt, where local news outlets say a crisis is in full swing as sewage water runs through the streets, pools up under people's homes, and flows into local playgrounds. Activists say the area, which is more than 20% black, is a case of environmental racism. Yamiche Alcindor, moderator of Washington Week on PBS and NBC News' Washington correspondent, has been looking into this story. Yamiche.
Well, Jose, the situation in Lowndes County, Alabama is shocking. Residents are struggling with failing waste systems or no systems at all. It's made life there incredibly challenging and led the Justice Department to open a civil rights investigation. The dark green waters across from Jerry Dean Smith's home hold a foul-smelling mix of human waste.
It smells. It smells so bad.
In Haynesville, Alabama, and many towns across Lowndes County, residents pay for sewage to flow into these lagoons. But here, many homes have failing sewage systems or none at all.
You got waste running in people's yard, neighbors' yard. It backs up in the majority of these neighbors' homes. It backs up in the bathroom and on the floors.
Smith and her neighbors say it's a health risk. In fact, one study found 1 out of every 3 adults here tested positive for hookworms, an intestinal parasite long thought to be eradicated.
It's not necessary for this to be going on in 2022. It just shouldn't be in the United States. It shouldn't be. This is the wealthiest country. A sewage system should be a right.
She and others believe this is racism, blaming the state and local government for not installing a centralized sewage system. In Lowndes County, which is majority black, the poverty rate is nearly double the national average. At least 40% of homes have inadequate or no sewage systems at all. Catherine Coleman Flowers, who grew up here, is an environmental activist. You call this America's dirty secret. Why?
Because it largely exists in rural communities and poor communities, and most people, when they find out about it, they're shocked. They don't believe that it's a reality in this country.
Last November, the Department of Justice opened a civil rights investigation aimed at assessing whether the Alabama and Lowndes County health departments are discriminating against black residents. Earlier this month, the DOJ held its first public meetings here. Fed-up residents sounded off.
I hope that y'all coming to work it for real and not play us for stupid or crazy.
Whether it's discrimination, direct or indirect, the net result is we need waste management system.
A state health official disagrees and says DOJ won't find any wrongdoing.
They'll come out with the same conclusion I had. I've done my own investigation. I see no discrimination. If you flush your toilet, you're responsible. Your home is your property. It's private property.
She even suggested residents use outhouses.
You've got an outhouse on the outside, and you got sewage on the ground. Environmentally, the outhouse is better.
She has personally started a nonprofit pilot program to put septic tanks outside some homes. But she says that organization doesn't have resources to help everyone. In the meantime, residents like 78-year-old Catherine Canyon are just trying to survive in squalid conditions.
If I go in there, if it rains, and take a shower, or flush my stew, the waste coming back up, sometimes in my kitchen sink. So I don't use dish, I use paper plates. It got me disgusted.
The sewage pooling below her trailer is rotting the floors. Recently, she says she broke her arm falling through the floor, but she can't afford to fix it or to move. How do you feel living in this state?
Trapped. Nowhere to go, but we just have to pray and have faith and hope tomorrow will get better.
The Biden administration has requested $1.4 million from Congress to open an environmental justice office to investigate whether American civil rights are being violated in cases like this. And in the meantime, activists and residents in Alabama say they're concerned that government officials have the power to place liens on people's homes and even arrest residents in Lowndes County who don't have proper sewage systems, even if they can't afford them. Jose?
Yamiche Alcindor, thank you for shining a light on this, such an important story.
For Baltimore resident Gloria Johnson, getting drinking water for her family is an ordeal.
I'm not trusting the water. I'm not comfortable with using it. I'm not comfortable with them drinking it.
Every month, the mother of two buys bottled water and boils gallons from the tap for her family to drink, cook, and brush their teeth.
It's frustrating because we got to keep up with this every single day on a daily basis. We got to continue to tell our kids every day why it isn't healthy and why it is important to remember to use the clean water and not the faucet water.
That's because even though Baltimore's drinking water meets federal safety standards, according to the city's annual water quality reports, the water coming out of her tap is sometimes brown, which could be a sign iron is leaching from aging pipes, whether in her building or pipes under the street.
These are unacceptable conditions that we're seeing all across the country.
Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Michael Regan says Baltimore is one of countless communities across the U.S. grappling with aging water infrastructure as federal investment dwindled. Some experiencing water crises, like Flint, Michigan, Jackson, Mississippi, and rural West Virginia.
Why has the U.S. government not done more, invested more in water infrastructure across this country?
You know, there are a lot of needs in this country. Unfortunately, we have waited too long. And there are certain populations in this country, Black and brown communities, tribal communities, low-income communities, that are seeing the worst aspects of this disinvestment.
Last year, Maryland received $144 million from the EPA as part of the bipartisan infrastructure law, which set aside about $50 billion for drinking and wastewater improvements. Administrator Regan says the money, seen as the largest federal investment in water infrastructure, is both historic and just the beginning. He says he also wants to make sure the money is used to help prevent other water crises.
Different cities have different challenges. Baltimore has its challenges, but you know, Flint and Jackson and some of these other counties, they have different challenges. And so we want to tackle the problem in places like Baltimore so that they don't get too far down the road.
And it sounds like what you're saying is you want to invest in Baltimore as the EPA so that it doesn't become the next Jackson or Flint.
We have to. We do have to have proactive strategy to prevent cities from getting to that point.
In Baltimore, lack of investment has led to problems like sewer backups and skyrocketing water bills because utilities put repair costs on consumers. I'm here near one of Baltimore's 3 water filtration plants, which helps the city serve some 1.8 million customers. It's from critical sites like this that Baltimore residents receive their tap water. The city's annual water quality reports show that when water leaves filtration plants like this, it's considered safe to drink. But last September, routine testing discovered E. coli in the drinking water at 3 locations in West Baltimore, a predominantly Black area, leading to a boil water advisory. In a hearing, the Department of Public Works said infrastructure failures were to blame.
It was a result of aging infrastructure.
But Matthew Garbarg, who oversees Baltimore's major infrastructure projects, says it's a multifaceted problem.
So are you saying what you're saying and what city officials saying are in line? They were sort of definitive in that hearing and saying aging infrastructure definitely contributed to it.
It is definitely something that is affecting our whole system. Whether that particular case was caused by the aging infrastructure, it's really hard to tell.
While Garbarg says he confidently drinks Baltimore tap water every day, he believes to make necessary improvements, the city would need hundreds of millions of more dollars.
How much do you need the federal government to be a partner in updating your aging infrastructure, or do you think you can do it on your own?
We need them desperately. We need to have our local, our state, and our federal partners all aligned on the mission.
We've also talked to some Baltimore residents who say when they open up their tap water, it's brown. What's your message to those people?
Yes, that is a very, very concerning thing to see. The brown is a concentration of the iron. It technically is perfectly safe to consume. It is not good looking, it's not attractive, and if you wash clothes with it, it will stain your clothes. So we understand that. Our message is call us. No one in our system should have to go out and buy bottled water.
Still, the $50 billion is not nearly enough. By the EPA's own estimates, the nation's drinking and wastewater infrastructure will require more than $744 billion over 20 years just to meet existing health and environmental standards.
The resources that we have from Bill are just a shot in the arm. There's a huge resource gap here.
A gap that people here are left trying to fill themselves. Stacey Beam says she refuses to believe the water coming from her faucet is safe. It's cloudy, sometimes brown, and even sandy. She works at the Food Project to cook and package meals to serve to the community and uses bottled water to prepare the food. And at home, Stacey says she spends $150 a month to buy bottled water while also paying the city water bill.
I'm getting nothing but dirty water most of the time, and my water bill is like $150 to $200 every month. It's sad. Our voices are not heard. Who mother wants to wake up in the morning and the water's brown?
I'm really struggling. We're crying out for help.
Help, the EPA says it's working to provide, and trust it's working to rebuild.
I can understand the trepidation that people have all across this country because water systems have been failing our communities. It's time for government to step up, and that's what we're doing. We're going to step up and lean in with the state of Maryland and the city of Baltimore, and we understand that we have to rebuild our trust with that community.
As a mom, all I can do is be the best I can be. I try to stay on top of the things that are important for me and my kids, such as is drinking healthy, eating healthy, being healthy.
Yamiche Alcindor, NBC News, Baltimore.
There are some major developments to report tonight on the water crisis in Jackson, Mississippi. The Justice Department filing a complaint saying the city failed to provide proper drinking water, violating federal law. Yamiche Alcindor reports.
Tonight, the Justice Department taking action on the water crisis in Jackson, Mississippi. In a statement, Attorney General Merrick Garland saying, in part, we will continue to prioritize cases in the communities most burdened by environmental harm. Jackson has been plagued by a series of drinking water crises and service outages in recent years, including the city's main water treatment plant failing after heavy rain. In a separate action, the department also announced it filed a proposed order that would appoint a third party to stabilize Jackson's water system. A court granted that order late today. That party would operate the system, take charge of billing customers, and make needed improvements. The DOJ says the city and the Mississippi State Health Department have both signed the order and agreed to its terms. The city has repeatedly said it intends to cooperate. Longtime Jackson resident Brooke Floyd says her family has been boiling water for years.
What do you want to see happen now that the DOJ is involved here?
I want our water to be fixed. I want my children to be able to turn on the faucet and brush their teeth.
Kristen Clark, the head of the DOJ Civil Rights Division, spoke in September about Jackson's water crisis.
We as a nation have a duty to stand up for our nation's most vulnerable. And it is not lost on us that we're talking about a community that is home to a disproportionate number of low-income Black people in Mississippi.
This is the latest in a recent line of DOJ investigations looking into environmental justice issues, like failing sewage systems in Alabama and illegal dumping in Texas. Tonight, one Jackson resident telling us it's time for the city, state, and federal government to step up. Lester?
All right, Yamiche, thank you.